Stars. I am your host, Ryan Smith, and this podcast has been dormant for a little bit of time, but we're bringing it back tonight as we are going to be starting a series of Glenn High School famous athletes coming from Robert Glenn High School. And as you may have heard, the class of 2025 Hall of Fame has been announced, and so I'll be interviewing a series of guests. And so tonight is my first guest in this interview. He is a former NBA star at Wake Forest University, and obviously basketball player here at Robert Glenn High School. Let's welcome back to the podcast, Josh Howard. Josh, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. It's honor to meet you, honor to have you on the podcast. Let's just start with we'll get to Glenn and obviously your time at college and the NBA, but let's just start with sports. When did you fall in love with sports? Didn't have to be basketball, maybe it was something else. And when did basketball come about?
Oh man, so my childhood memories from what I can recall, football was my first love, like around 88, 89.
Okay. Yeah.
I played for the Winston-Salem Greyhounds,
Mhm.
which was my first ever like um, sports experience,
Mhm.
organized sports to be exact. So
Yep.
it was actually a great experience because I learned about being a teammate, being a team player, and just understanding the sacrifices it takes to be an athlete. So those were my first experiences, and then I played baseball right after football. So over at South Little League in Winston-Salem.
Mhm.
I did that for about 2 years, and then um, middle school is when I took interest in basketball when I went to Philo, and
Yep.
from that point forward, I think I really fell in love with it. I was a fan of the game, of course, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird,
Of
Scottie
course.
Pippen fan, yeah, man. So just great old school basketball that I grew up, and I had a lot of family members, cousins, and uncles that kept me close to the game. So it was kind of in me from the start, and I just took to it and enjoyed it.
Yeah. And specifically basketball, when you kind of latched on to your love of basketball, you ended up going to Robert Glenn High School, where you can talk about what you want the with that, but obviously you were going to part of this class of 2025. So we'll start there. Just how did you get to Glenn High School, and just what were your memories from playing high school basketball?
Well, I grew up on the south side of Winston-Salem. Morningside was the neighborhood. And before I actually went to Glenn, I went to Parkland my freshman year, which was definitely a fun experience. Middle school was, like I said, Philo, so I had a lot of friends there. But I also grew up with a lot of friends that went to Glenn, so it was an easy transition for me. I also had a family member, which was very close to me, that worked at Glenn and made it easy for me for my transition, which was my grandmother, who played a major part in my life, especially those 3 years I was at Glenn. And again, Coach Cloud, who was our coach, he did a hell of a job coaching guys previous to me, like Kevin Thompson, Brian Fagans, Drake Owens, guys like that. LeVar Douglas. I can go on and on for the guys who were before me. So I kind of knew the history of Glenn's basketball team before I got there, and I knew Coach Cloud. As far as my grandma had always talked about him, and they was friends as far as working there together. So just again, the adjustment was easy for me because I knew the people that was around, and again, the love of the game and playing with friends also made it fun because all my neighborhood friends was actually on Glenn's basketball team. So
Right. Yeah.
um, the school was fun in itself, even though, coming from Morningside, if people know, it was about a 15, 20-minute drive to school every day. So that was
Yeah.
probably the only gripe we probably had. But just overall, that experience at Glenn, with the students and the staff was cool to me. Like I never had an issue and just enjoyed the basketball game with them.
Yeah, and so you end up being a first team All State selection your senior year, where you averaged 6 blocks a game, 70% shooting, but
Yeah.
and then a double double during your junior senior years, where you end up getting the Frank Spencer Award for the top player in Northwest North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then you finish out your time at Glenn, and you decide to obviously play college ball, since obviously you're talented enough to do that. And you end up going to Wake Forest University. Tell us just briefly, if you can recall, the recruitment process back in the day and why Wake Forest.
Well, after Glenn, I actually had to go to military school. So I had one stop, which was a stop for me to develop my game and also understand academically I needed to do better, especially with the SAT is what the issue was for me to get to the next level. So that one little 6 month, 8 month stop at Hargrave really tuned
Hargrave.
me to
Yep.
get to Wake Forest, and they only had one scholarship and they offered it to me and I took full advantage of it. Coach Odom, and his staff, Coach Nestor, Coach Haif, Coach Turner, they were all great, man, and they groomed me to be a good player. And then those years of learning behind guys like Robert O'Kelly, Darius Sangala, were great years for me, as far as understanding the game and how to take over when I became a junior and a senior, and be a leader. And Coach Prosser came in those last years
Yep.
of my career and just really pushed me over the hump to become a professional and handle myself, correctly on and off the court. So those Wake Forest years was memorable. Like I sit back to this day and still think about the fun we had and the runs we had those 4 years I was there. So it was just a blessing to come back and play home in front of my home crowd too. That was another thing. To have like really people follow my career from high school to college and me be successful was also a big motivational factor in me just being who I am and continue to be humble and strive for my goal, which was basketball and be good at it.
Yeah. For those who just may not be as familiar, kind of just taking them back to your time at Wake Forest for just a second. You get there, you start all 36 games, but starting played in all 36 games, starting in just all but
Yeah.
two. Led the team with 44 steals, fourth on the team with 9 points a game. Obviously, you had that breakout game against Duke in the ACC tournament. That was obviously your freshman year.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, you selected all second team ACC, missing a few games with the flu, but you ended up playing in 29 games total and led the team in scoring with 13 and a half points per game. And as you mentioned, your teammate, Darius Sangaila, he and yourself, second team all district as well.
Yeah.
And then you end up going to senior year where you became the first member of your family to graduate college. I want to stop there first before we get it back into the basketball. How does that feel? I mean, that had to be an absolute great accomplishment.
Well, I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but that information is wrong. My cousin, I mean my aunt, excuse me, Phyllis Marshall, or excuse me, Phyllis Pope, graduated first. I was second.
You were second.
So,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
still second.
So,
That's got to feel really good.
yeah, I mean, it was a blessing, man. Like I said, education was valued in my family, so for me and my aunt to get the opportunity to do that was definitely amazing. And it's just something that, we didn't really get the opportunity growing up, or our family members didn't, back in the past. So to take advantage of that and use basketball to do that was definitely, a no-brainer for us. So, and to do it at a higher institute in Wake Forest was definitely special because, again, that degree is still helping me to this day. I'm
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and not trying to skip forward, but I'm actually the athletic director as well as the head men's basketball coach at my current job at UNT Dallas. So that in itself right there prepared me for these moments. So I'm just, thankful that I graduated and understood what it was to have a valued education from Wake Forest.
Absolutely. And so after Wake Forest, you close out your senior year winning so many awards, ACC Player of
Yeah,
the Year, ACC
bless.
All Defensive Team,
Yeah,
First Team All America, AP, projected as a mid to late round first round pick in the 23 NBA draft. And then you end up going in the NBA draft to the Dallas Mavericks in the first round, 29th overall. And then
hmm
obviously that wasn't your only stop, but you did play there for a good 7 years. That was your first stop in the NBA, and I can imagine we'll get there in a second. But obviously you're back in Dallas now coaching, so that's a little bit of a.
yes,
I don't want to say that's a uh, uh, I think that might be connected, but maybe I'm wrong there.
yes, sir.
So talk to me about just getting into the league. You played for the Dallas Mavericks, you played for the Wizards, the Jazz, the Timberwolves, and then you had a little stint with the Austin Toros. But overall, just being in the league, being a professional, what did that feel like? And just how did it feel to live your childhood dream, playing a kid's game?
Yeah, well, first it was just a blessing in itself. Again, I didn't really think I would be an NBA player growing up until like my last 2 years when I really realized like I could compete at a high level. So when I actually got drafted and heard my name called, it was a surreal moment. And I was in Winston, or surrounded by family. So for them to experience that with me was just a blessing. And then setting foot, on the Dallas Mavericks practice court for the first time was really like an accomplishment that I never thought that I would do or even think about doing,
Yeah.
let alone coming to a top-notch organization with Mark Cuban being the owner and having future Hall of Famers and Dirk Nowitzki, Michael Finley, Steve Nash
I was
that
gonna say that
that
lineup was
helped
loaded
me,
back in the day.
yeah, load it and helped me learn the professional side of basketball. Like all four of those men, along with others like Jerry Stackhouse, Marquise Daniels, Daryl Armstrong, and I can keep going with those names, but those guys in my Dallas years really meant a lot to me, and they helped me grow on the basketball court. They made the game easy for me. Just listening to my vets tell me certain situations and just being a student of the game and not being afraid to take constructive criticism and learning from it. So again, I learned how to be a professional, and understand what it was to have longevity. A lot of people don't know the average years for NBA players is like around 3 years as far as a contract before they're no longer able to make, the type of money that they thought they can make. So for me to make it to 10 years and almost 11, it's definitely a blessing and an accomplishment. And I take that back to when I first set foot in the league, man. So those Dallas years are really true to my heart. That's why I returned back here, after I retired, just because this is like my second home. If not, this is my home now. I've been here for 20 plus years now. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, Before we get into your coaching career, which and then we'll get circle back obviously to Glenn specifically.
Mhm.
Um, is there a player at each level of basketball that you played at that you will say high school, college, and professional
Mhm.
that you thought just didn't get a lot of recognition? You played alongside him, and obviously someone who was a good teammate, someone who really helped you out mentor wise, or just someone it was really fun to play alongside them, and maybe
Yeah.
they just didn't get as much recognition. Who were some of those people that really influenced your basketball career?
I mean, I'm gonna try to keep it to five, but
Sure.
um,
It can be any level you want.
yeah. Well, I start off with high school. Probably one of my older teammates when I first made varsity that went to Glenn, his name was LeVar Douglas.
Oh yeah, yeah,
LeVar was, I mean, he was a man child when he was in high school. He was already built like a grown man, and it was a neighborhood friend of mine too. So I just, I was just amazed at the way he played basketball. He just had a no fear to him, and I hope he hears this because I never had a chance to tell him this, but.
I was gonna say, let's make sure he does.
Yeah, yeah. So LeVar Douglas definitely he doesn't know or hopefully he does was definitely impacted me high school wise because he was older than me. So I just definitely knew I had to play hard because I knew he was gonna make sure I played hard one way or the other being a neighborhood kid.
Yes.
Moving from that, college, man, playing in the ACC when I played, man, we had to play against a gauntlet of guys that were like tough to play. One guy that I probably would say, I would stick out of my mind because he did a lot that people didn't expect him to do was Juan Dixon when he played up in Maryland.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, Juan was one of the toughest guys to have to guard. Gary Williams had the flex offense rolling, and that crowd was amazing, man. So. Hats off to that man because he was one of the guys that I really like had to gear up for night in and night out when I
Yeah,
had to play those
absolutely.
guys.
Absolutely.
So, and then in the NBA, I mean, golly, bro, just playing as much as I played, I had to play against guys like Allen Iverson in his prime.
Oh yeah.
Then I had to switch over and guard guys like Kevin Durant. So,
Absolutely.
I can go on and on. I guess I would stick with the original answer I would always say when people ask me that. Toughest guy I probably had to guard was Tracy McGrady. Because of
He was
his
special.
skill set, yes. And then he had Yao Ming as a screener. So could you
Yeah,
imagine?
that's
There
like
you
a
go.
cheat code almost. Yeah.
Cheat code. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
that that's my answers to those.
Yeah. Um, and then obviously you end up retiring in 2014. You go on to have a coaching career starting in 2016 with Piedmont International and now with UNT Dallas.
Yeah.
Talk to me about and it's all Carolina University is what it's called now. I should say Piedmont
Yeah.
International University was the first stop. Now called Carolina University,
Yes.
and then now you are currently at UNT Dallas, which is part of the NAIA League, National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. Talk to us about the coaching bug, how you got into it. Was it natural? Was it something you've always wanted to do, or did you kind of have to get, someone kind of twisted your arm? How did you get into the coaching?
Nah, 2014 was my last year of playing NBA basketball, and I was in a depressed place. From 14 to 16 before I took the job. The Players Association in the NBA offered training for coaching, and I took advantage of that in 2015. in 15 and 16, I decided to start training kids, just to kind of figure out what I wanted to do after basketball. Because, like I
Sure.
said, I was in a depressed state. My grandma had just passed,
Mm.
and I really didn't know what to do. And this is a crazy, I can't believe I'm telling this story. Um, so I went to Piedmont, built a relationship with Dr. Pettit, and it's going to be a wild story that I'm finna tell you. But um, on the day that I spoke to Dr. Pettit in July, and he was telling me that the head coach that was there basically had to retire and he was looking for a new head coach. I wasn't at the time, like I said, thinking about
Right.
myself.
Correct.
But on that particular day was the same day that Coach Prosser at Wake Forest had passed away 7 years prior.
Wow.
So it was a tough day for me, but I got up to do what I needed to do training wise. And when he said that to me, I'd already knew I did the training. It was something that I thought about doing, but never in my wildest dreams thought I would be a coach. So I went and prayed about it. And I called Dr. Petty back maybe like an hour later and told him I found him somebody. And he was like, "Who?" And I was like, "Myself." You know what I'm saying? Josh Howard. And he was ecstatic. He didn't believe that I wanted the job. And I was like, at this point in my career, like I really don't want to play NBA basketball no more, and it's time to turn the page. And so we met the next day, and a week later, I was introduced as the head men's basketball coach to Piedmont International, which is now Carolina University, which started my career. And just wanted to backtrack from that before I moved to UNT Dallas because the time I had at Piedmont, which is now Carolina, was a time of change for Dr. Pettit because it was a school that was seen for not having diversity. And Dr. Pettit was there to usher that in, to break barriers and do things that they have never seen before. Because I grew up in the school in that city, and I think you did too, or understood the dynamics if you know about the school. So,
Yep.
for me to be the first black coach there was definitely groundbreaking, and that's all goes to Dr. Pettit. And I say all that to say I had to come back to Winston-Salem, and I don't want to get emotional because I've held it in. But Dr. Pettit passed of a heart attack a week and a half ago, and his
Wow.
funeral was last Saturday. So for me to tell that story, for you to ask me about it, was really like the first time I've had to speak on it because after my career, Dr. Pettit gave me my first chance at another career. And he was a go-getter. He was a man that would set trends, and he was just a guy that was about his business. And I'm glad I got a chance to even talk to you or say anything about this on record because I didn't speak at the funeral, but he meant so much to me and what I'm doing now that I can never repay his family back for all the things he's done. So, I
Absolutely.
appreciate you for asking that, man. That was a tough one.
Well, the listeners obviously will appreciate just the vulnerability, and I appreciate you just being willing to share something like that on the record, like you said. And
Yeah,
he's looking down, very proud of you today, and just what you're doing now. So,
yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that.
Appreciate that.
So getting to UNT now, and then so talk a little bit now your coaching career there and kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah, so and I can still go back and talk to Doc because when I had to leave, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was a
You can keep
bittersweet.
going. Keep
Yeah,
going.
it was a bittersweet moment because Dr. Pettit wanted me to stay, man, and I just knew, that my cup had run it over at Piedmont. I think my job was fulfilled and it was time to move on. So, we parted ways and he wished me the best, and we kept in touch, like I said, all the way until
Love.
I
Yep.
got to UNT Dallas, and I just knew it was a new beginning. They never had athletics. Jack Allday at the time was the athletic director, and he spearheaded that program. Like you said, in the NAIA conference, and it was just something fresh, and I didn't mind being a part of something new. And I knew it was a higher level up than the league I was in. So, just coming down here and knowing that I had ties to the city, and also being back close to my kids, which still live here. And that was the biggest thing that I missed out on those 4 years, and also years in the NBA because of my schedule. So to come back here, be close to my kids and my family was just, I was just elated, man. And I just took to, being a coach and letting young men and women use my platform, through basketball to achieve their goals. And I just fell in love with the coaching. And like I said at the start, like when my second career started, I did not dream about being a coach. It wasn't in the plans. And it just ended up, being something that I really enjoyed. And like I said, giving back. Um,
Yeah. And you're currently an athletic director as well, correct?
Yeah, and that just happened maybe over the past 3 months. And again, my hat's off to Dr. Pettit, because if he wouldn't have opened the door for me to be a coach, I wouldn't be able to, step into this athletic director role, being a head coach. And I'm taking it with the challenge and just, accepting it and going out, trying to make UNT Dallas, the best athletic program in the city if possible. So it's been a ride.
Yeah. So circling back to Robert Glenn High School, which is obviously where you are part of the Hall of Fame class of 2025. And obviously here on Triad All Stars, I've got Josh Howard, former Glenn High School basketball standout, Wake Forest University, and NBA standout. For those who just need a quick refresher, I'm just going to, this is what Coach Howard now, as he goes by, what
Okay.
he accomplished as a player in basketball. NBA All-Star in 2007 and NBA All-Rookie second team in 2004. Consistent first team All-American in 2003. ACC Player of the Year 2003. First and second team All-ACC in 2001 and 2003. Third team All-ACC in 2002 and All-ACC defensive team in 2003. And finally, his number 5 was retired by Wake Forest just a
Mhm.
few years back. So I say all that to then bring you to so this pitch. Uh, Going back to Glenn High School, being inducted into the class of 2025, and the legacy that you left at Glenn High School as someone who didn't think professional basketball was even possible. Uh, what does that mean to you?
And it means a lot. It means that I really thought about the process as far as like what people told me about not giving up. I had a lot of people that were rooting for me at Glenn. Coach Stanley was definitely one. He was the athletic director then.
Yep.
Mr. Copeland, the principal, Miss Gainey, Miss Crank, Mr. McReynolds. Those are all assistant principals that cared. Teachers, Mr. Rathburn, Miss Lowman. Like I still remember these teachers that actually, wanted me and seen good in me and wanted me to do good. So just understanding that I had people that seen the good in me and wanted me to be, the best me made me who I am today, and of course my family. That even my that was at Glenn with me. I had cousins that went there too. So
Yeah.
it was just love there, man. And again, just the atmosphere of, people just being genuine at that school, made it all work.
Yeah. Um, Going back to specifically your time at Glenn, what do you want people, not just the Hall of Fame and the basketball and the athletics, but
Mhm.
what do you want people to remember about you at Glenn and when you like stuff like this and maybe and then down the road when they see your name in the rafters or see your name in in some trophy case, what do they when they see Josh Howard, what do you want them to remember about you ultimately, your legacy?
That he was a humble kid or a humble young man that always gave back to his community and genuinely cared about those and what they did through they walk through life. That's it. And that's genuine. That's me. I just just always been surrounded by love with my family, and I just was taught to give it. Even with the ones who hate it, what I'm saying, you always got to show
Yeah.
love to the haters because again, they're actually a motivation to you. So you got to love them for being mad at you because they see what they want in you and them, what they want out of you and them. So for me. I'm just thankful, again, and I just want people to remember as a humble man that's seen the best out of everybody.
Let's get to know Josh Howard here in the time we have remaining, and in 5 or so minutes we have left here. Do a little lightning round. Just get to kind of know you outside of basketball a little bit. What are some hobbies that you do when you're not coaching or when you weren't playing in the league? What does Josh Howard like to do outside of basketball?
Okay, so one hobby I had was collecting Monopoly boards, which was cool. It's a nostalgic thing for me because when I was in military school, all we could do was play was board games, and Monopoly was one of them. So that was something that I took to and started doing. I also got into I won't say collecting old school cars, but I have
Okay.
5 of them. So I really enjoy the whole process of getting them put together. I deal with a garage here in Dallas that does a great job, and I just enjoy that. So those are things that I do in my leisure. I used to travel a lot, but it kind of got old to me. So I kind of enjoy just kind of staying in one spot now. So I'm
Yep.
really laid back, and you got to think about it. My career, I was always on the go. So for me, just kind of sitting still is kind of like some of the best time that I can have right now.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, and along with we talked earlier, kids. So I
Yes.
have four. And my oldest son is actually going through the same process I went through when I was his age as far as being recruited. And so I'm actually just enjoying being a dad right now, which again, you can attest to that. It's kind of cool to sit back and see your kids just, do stuff that you used to do. And for me, again, living the lifestyle I lived and being the age that I am, just getting to my mid 40s is just like what else can I do? So just continuing to, figure out things that I can do to keep me interested and, just continue to grow as a man is what I'm doing now. So
Yeah. Um, let's play a little lightning round with basketball related to close us out here here
okay.
on Triad All Stars. I'm just gonna give you a scenario, kind of a this or that, and you tell me your first thing that kind of comes to mind.
Okay.
Um, which ACC venue was your favorite to play in besides Lawrence Joel?
Dean Dome,
What was your least favorite one to play in?
Florida State.
That's okay. I thought you were gonna say Cameron Indoor. Okay,
Oh
why
yeah.
Florida State? I'm just curious.
I just wanted to win there. Never could win. Came close, but never could win.
Yeah, yeah. Why Florida State? That I found that interesting.
It was real gloomy. Like,
Oh, okay. All
yeah,
right.
the atmosphere wasn't a fun atmosphere to go play a game at, put it like that. Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Best NBA travel city.
Ooh, man, I'm not gonna be typical because I know everybody want me to say Miami or New York, so I'm gonna go New Orleans.
Oh, I've been there. That's a good city.
Yeah,
That's a good time.
yeah.
I'm not going to throw any shade under anyone, but if you had to choose, is there an NBA city that you didn't like traveling to so much?
No shade. This was more so to do with my performance.
Okay.
So I hated playing in Indiana. I never could crack like 15 points. Like it was just my whole career. I just never had a good game in Indiana. So I
Okay.
kind of dreaded going there.
Obviously being from Winston-Salem, playing in Charlotte, when you faced the Hornets, Bobcats, what did you think of, was that different for you when you played there, being a North Carolina native?
No, it was a homecoming. My family would cook for the team, so they would be looking for those games because they knew my mom, grandma, and them would cook, and I would be able to bring it on the plane on the ride back. So it was just like coming back home. I would always play good. Yeah, it was always fun. They would let me go home because at times I was still under the limit, the age where I couldn't just like leave the team, so they wouldn't let me go. But sometimes they would. So it was a fun time going back to Charlotte.
Coach that you did not get a chance to play under that you would have loved to play for.
Greg Popovich down in San Antonio.
Okay. So we'll say what about the college level? We'll say that was the pro level. What about the college level?
College level, hmm, John Thompson.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, the college coaches you had so many to choose
Yeah,
from. Yeah.
that's why I had to really sit back and be like, woo, because yeah, we
That's a
had
good
some
one. That's a good
coaches.
one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up kind of with this again. Josh Howard, now Coach Howard of the formerly of Robert Glenn High School basketball, and then Wake Forest, and then in the league for 10 years plus. Member of the Glenn High School class of 2025 Hall of Fame here on Triad All Stars. This will be one of many interviews that we will be doing here with the class of 2025. Coach Howard, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time. Listeners
Yeah.
get to know a little bit more about you as a basketball player and also a person. And we congratulate you officially for the nomination and induction into the class of 2025 at Robert Glenn. And we wish you all the best.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
And that will wrap up this episode of Triad All Stars. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you.